This video is made possible by my Patreons. Click the link in the description down below and donate a single dollar to support me financially, or receiving benefits such as receiving my videos a day early so that you can watch them before anyone else, and having your name in the credits of every video. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to show support but you don't have the money to support me financially, and all of my other social media are linked in the description down below. With that being said, let's get right into the video. IIlluminaughtii is a content creator with 1.6 million subscribers, best known for covering the controversy of brands from Peter to Shein. With millions of views per video and a frequent multiple video a week schedule, IIlluminaughtii is a very successful channel and doesn't seem like they'll be seeing a decline anytime soon. But as their looming presence continues to get larger, all the shadows hiding behind them continue to expand as well. Now they seem to be leaking out, and IIlluminaughtii is finding themselves in a heap of controversy with every single person you could really imagine. But to build context for that, we need to go back to a tweet the IIlluminaughtii posted 9 days ago as of recording this audio on April the 20th, when IIlluminaughtii tweeted, "Not at legal editors, broaching my editors to take my video's style, and when they didn't give up the info, they literally copied it. By the way, I have messages from my editors and found an email from them too. Just changed the color from purple to blue. Huh? Interesting." They would continue to expand upon this point within their thread, showing the email they received with them saying, quote, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this, but if you could make it easier for me, I'd appreciate it." The email reads, "Hey, I work as an editor for Legal. I was wondering if there was some After Effects plugin you guys used for things like the intro to the first NFL video, where the lighter colors appear to stick out in 3D. We could recreate it, but we figured there was probably a faster method you guys were using. Here's the video I'm talking about, just so you know what I mean." And from this tweet alone, you can already see how IIlluminaughtii is subtly reframing the context of this situation, saying that they outright said, quote, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this, but if you could make it easier for me, I'd appreciate it," when they didn't outright say that. But irregardless of whether they did say what IIlluminaughtii said they said, I wouldn't have seen this as an issue. It's common practice between content creators to find out how one created an effect and try to recreate it, taking inspiration from their content and using it in your own way for your own video. These editing effects aren't majestic things that only one channel has rights over. They're often pretty simple plugins that people put their own spin on to make look a little more captivating. Reacting this way is a massive over-dramatization, especially when all this person asked was, is there some After Effects plugin you used to create things like the intro in the first NFL video? All they wanted was a easily downloadable plugin so that they could use it to create their own effect. Unsurprisingly, IIlluminaughtii doesn't own that plugin, and neither do their editors. But the thread continues to IIlluminaughtii publicly blasting this editor, posting a poorly cropped Discord conversation from IIlluminaughtii's server where they, quote, "tried to get more to cop the style," with the person in question saying, "Am I allowed to post a video essay I made that was inspired by Blair's channel? Or is there like no self-promotion? Also, is there any way I can talk to one of the video editors? I edit for Legal and wanted to know how they did a specific effect." With one of the moderators replying, "You have to be level 2 to post links, then the best place for you would be #advertise yourself." With the editor in question following up saying, "And about talking to the editing team, I've emailed in the past but got no response, so I figured I'd try here." I'm just going to immediately rebut this point with more evidence, showing the full conversation the editor had in IIlluminaughtii's server, as there's more context that was removed. After Danny said, "And about talking to the editing team, I've emailed in the past but got no response, so I figured I'd try here," one of the moderators responded, "This isn't really the place for that. This is just to ask questions about the server, as the mod team isn't really involved in editing. The editing team are busy people." With someone else responding, "It's true, I'm very busy," and the editor in question saying, "Ah, well thanks for the help." Any well-adjusted person reading this conversation can see that this isn't an issue. It was a complete nothing burger, and IIlluminaughtii blasting this person on their public platform was an otherworldly overreaction. But if you thought this ended here, IIlluminaughtii then presents examples of the theft by showing screenshots from one of their videos and one of Legal's videos. Now, you don't really need to be a genius to look at these images and see that they barely have any similarities, and the similarities they do have are also similarities they have with every other kind of video that's used this effect on the entire platform, which is a lot of them. The torn paper effect is not some new effect, it's been done for decades, and highlighting a line of text on a basic 3D element, well, I think everyone here knows how common that effect is. There is no proof of theft here, but IIlluminaughtii still continues, saying, "To be honest, I wouldn't have believed any of this was trying to replicate my videos if not for the email and Discord stuff that was done preemptive to their video coming out. Like, talk about, can I copy your homework? Yeah, but just make it a little different. SMH. And unsurprisingly, when the general sphere of commentary started to realize how bad this thread was, IIlluminaughtii's thread got torn to pieces in seconds. And hey, even I made a tweet about it. It is so embarrassing that a 1.5 million sub content creator would call out some random editor without a platform who works for IIlluminaughtii because they were curious about how a visual effect could be replicated for their own personal project. So true, HarleyTBS. You were spitting facts with that one. You should go follow me over there so that you can see more facts in the future. Anyway, IIlluminaughtii obviously responded to this thread, and the response more than devoured IIlluminaughtii whole. Hey IIlluminaughtii, I think this is a big misunderstanding. Perhaps great minds think alike? No one on my team is trying to copy you. Without an exhaustive review of your channel, I believe we used those two styles before your channel did. We've used them for 3 to 4 years. Plus, the two styles, a pseudo paper rip and a highlight, are extremely common on YouTube. The editor you're talking about didn't even design either of those two elements. Again, we've used them for 3 to 4 years at this point. Danny is a great and thorough editor. When he reached out by email, he was just hoping to find out what plugin your team used on a particular video, and he was not looking to copy anyone's style. Danny is also a freelancer who makes his own videos. In the Discord, the video he referenced was about being inspired by your subject matter, not your style. He's a fan of yours. The video he was referencing was a video of his own, not a IIlluminaughtii video. IIlluminaughtii then goes on to attach the Discord message I previously read to you, showing that Danny was just looking for technical help and thanked everyone even when they couldn't give him that help, then continues to say, YouTube is great because it's collaborative and the rising tide raises all ships. My team and I always try to provide original, high-quality, informative content. We try to help others when they ask for it. There aren't really any trade secrets around here. I didn't know that Danny reached out to you, but I don't fault him for doing so. If anything, I think everyone on this platform should be more open and sharing. Anyway, if you feel differently or want to hash it out, my DMs are open. But unfortunately, IIlluminaughtii had already started the fire at this point, and now it was spreading out of control. Content creators like HBomberGuy started to respond, with HBomberGuy saying, just to clarify, one of IIlluminaughtii's editors asked one of your editors what plugin they used for a personal video they were working on for their own channel. I take plagiarism really seriously, so I'm interested in an explanation of what exactly is wrong here. With HBomberGuy following up saying, personally IIlluminaughtii, I would define plagiarism as something a bit more specific. For example, copying someone else's documentary directly into your script, with HBomberGuy then attaching a clip of what he believes to be proof that IIlluminaughtii plagiarized someone else's documentary.
Professor Hugh Freudenberg.
Professor Freudenberg has long been controversial.
A man named Hugh Freudenberg, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
And at this point, with IIlluminaughtii having no more argument to stand on and being thoroughly destroyed by anyone on Twitter, saying destroyed sounded really cringe, but I'm gonna leave it anyway, whatever. They would delete their entire thread about this, and then a few days later, 14 hours ago as of recording this video, post to @LegalEagle. Although I have apologized privately, I would like to do so now publicly. I'm sorry for making editing style claims that were inaccurate. I jumped the gun, thought hastily, and should have messaged you privately to hash things out. I am sorry. Showing DMs between IIlluminaughtii and LegalEagle, where they said, I want to reach out and apologize for my tweet yesterday. I was quick to protect my editors when they brought this info to me and overreacted. I have deleted the tweets. With LegalEagle responding, understood, thank you for the apology, and thanks for deleting. This response didn't seem to appease the people who were upset at IIlluminaughtii though, with Nicholas Diorio quote retweeting saying, I don't want an I'm sorry lol, here is this guy's DM, he accepted my apology. I want a video where she explains her thought process as to what was actually plagiarism. That would be really funny. And his wish was granted, because an hour after IIlluminaughtii posted this tweet, they followed up saying, I'd like to clear the air about a few things, and then attached a 45-minute response video to all of their drama. Jesus, why couldn't you just make it a short video and make my life easy for me? So I'm gonna do my best to address the most important points I feel are in this video, while avoiding the stuff that's entirely unrelated or I feel I don't really need to address here.
Now, before we get into debunking many false statements that have been made about me, I want to start with an apology. I have apologized privately to Legal Eagle the day after this incident occurred, though I have not been publicizing that until right now. Maybe this is something I should have said sooner, but I needed the time to think through the events that have preceded. And for those unaware, a short story. My editors came to me about how parts of a Legal Eagle video looked similar to our videos. And then there were messages and an email from one of Legal Eagle's editors asking for more information about how we do certain effects. I looked at the compared images that were brought to me and I said, wow, that does look pretty similar, and I impulsively posted about it on Twitter. Truthfully, I should have looked into this more instead of just putting the information out there the second I had a gut reaction about it. I should have asked him what the emails were about, but I didn't, and I made a mistake, and plain and simple, I was wrong. So to Legal Eagle and team, I just want to reiterate that I messed up, and I'm sorry for any stress this may have caused you and of course to your team. I know I apologized privately and removed the tweets with that apology, and I'm now publicly sharing that information with all of you. And I want to extend that apology to my audience and to listeners who are disappointed in me for this, because I'm also disappointed in myself. It was a quick-drawn decision and it wasn't thought out. I promise to do better.
So far, I can't really fault this response. I think acknowledging your wrongdoings, apologizing to the people you affected, and criticizing yourself and your own impulsivity are good steps in the right direction, and I think they show your humanity. It's very easy to forget that people behind the screens are actually real people, and being transparent and open with your audience is a good way to win them to your side. It is my personal perspective that as long as you're trying to be the best you and trying to correct yourself and hold yourself accountable to your own mistakes, you improve as a person, and I can't really hold those mistakes against you. So far, I don't really have any criticism of this video. That will change in a few minutes, but we'll get there.
Let's start with the first accusation and go from there. After Legal Eagle responded in his tweets, there was another tweet that arose in tandem to this situation. And that tweet was made by another YouTuber called HBomberGuy. And this YouTuber is someone who also creates longer form content. As someone who creates this type of content and researches various topics, the main thing to keep in mind is the source material used. Things like articles, interviews, videos, documentaries, academic essays, and so on and so forth. As video essayists, this is a core concept to both Harris and myself. Before I get into the accusation itself, I want to address the topic of plagiarism. And that word has been tossed around a ton, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And I just want to take a minute to define this word.
On screen are definitions for the word plagiarism as defined by Merriam-Webster, Dictionary.com, and the University of Oxford. I'm showing multiple sources defining plagiarism, but the overall definition is going to boil down to this.
Plagiarism is to take someone else's idea as their own or to not credit the source. With that definition being clearly identified, let's go ahead and take a look at what Harris brought to the Twitter table. Harris posted this video saying, and I quote, "Personally, at IIlluminaughtii, I would define plagiarism as something a bit more specific. For example, copying someone else's documentary directly into your script." End quote. However, in his own video, he shows where I'm audibly quoting a direct line from the documentary, and even visually you can see it on the screen with the quotation marks. Additionally, you can even see the dual ellipses on either end of that quote, indicating that more of that source was being cited. When you go to my sourcing page for this particular episode, you can also see that the documentary is listed as a source. It has been 3 years since I posted this episode, and I've been really grateful to be able to continually learn and grow with time. Since then, I have learned to be much more overt and obvious with citations, something that may not have been perfectly clear to me 3 years ago. I apologize for the oversight of not making that quote more clear. At the time of recording, it was really obvious to me that it was a citation of the documentary, especially in full context of that section of my video, because that section was wholly dedicated to Brian Deere's work. And for some clarification, I would like to provide both you and Harris with the script that I was working off of. It will be available in the Google Drive. While I believe emphasizing the key phrase of the quote about stopping injections on autistic children was, and still is, very important to point out, the quote should have been fully displayed on screen. This was certainly a poor editing choice, and it's an editing style that I no longer utilize, but it's most certainly not plagiarism.
As many have been quick to highlight, this response is just blatantly untrue. The way it's presented in IIlluminaughtii's video could be referred to as misleading at best. They don't show the clip HBomberGuy showed, only a screenshot, and the screenshot they show specifically shows one quote that they did credit within their video. The problem being that Illuminaughtii shows you the screenshot proving they're lying to you in their own video. When they show this quote on screen to prove that they were quoting Brian Deere, you can see at the top of the screen where it says lawsuit with FDA in 1989 that they were directly quoting that lawsuit in the same way as in Brian Deere's documentary, he was quoting the FDA's lawsuit.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
So, to make it clear, what Illuminaughtii is crediting here in their video is not the Brian Deere documentary they plagiarized almost word for word, but the FDA lawsuit that Brian Deere was also quoting. This doesn't help their argument because the entire rest of their sentence, which was practically word for word Brian Deere's statement, is not quoted or credited at all, on screen or in the video at least. It is technically in the sources in the description, but I would argue that's not good enough. Even going by the definition Illuminaughtii puts on screen of plagiarism being to take someone else's idea as their own or to not credit the source. I would argue it's not even worth the debate of whether Illuminaughtii took this person's work, and I would argue it's pretty clear that their credit of the source wasn't good enough when you see how they credited the FDA when they had their lawsuit in comparison. They have a clear blueprint on how they would credit a source if they were going to, and you can see how insidiously they chose not to with Brian Deere's documentary.
But with that being said, I still want to take accountability where it's needed, so I still would like to apologize for this citation not being made more clear visually in that video. Harris, I am also someone who takes plagiarism seriously, and I do see where your criticism comes from, but unfortunately, this was simply an oversight on an editing error, but not an act of plagiarism. To me, at the time of the recording, the entire section was very obviously a citation, even as seen in the script. There was a visual change to break up the many words that would otherwise be just chunked onto the screen, which, looking back at it, despite not being so visually appealing to have tons of words on the screen, this should have been an opportunity to provide that full quote to avoid any confusion like this whatsoever.
Undoubtedly, this whole quote should have been put on screen, but it wasn't, and I think downplaying this to just an editing mistake is misleading, which is a shame because it makes it very hard to watch the rest of this video with rose-tinted lenses when I can see how clearly you tried to mislead me this early into the video.
I'd like to think that in the last 3 years, myself and my team have grown to create better content that is educational and entertaining, and this is clearly an example of how we have improved since that time. I have nothing but love for everyone on my team, from editors, writers, artists, and even some of the not-so-fun kind of clerical duties like payroll. I'm always going to have their back, even if sometimes things slip through the cracks. We're a team of people who make human mistakes. We're going to continue to improve content as the years continue, and we'll always be able to learn and improve from the past.
I would like to believe that you actually mean what you're saying here, and take this as a good sign of good faith that you will actually take steps to improve your content. The problem is the fact you don't actually see the issue with what H-Bomber Guy was highlighting, or that you're actively avoiding acknowledging it. The fact you can't see the problem here means it's likely this problem will repeat. Citing your sources is important, which is why I need to cite Bob Vids' tweet, which showed everyone that this lawsuit with FDA in 1989 credit was not the credit of Brian Deere's documentary you tried to claim it was, with Bob Vids saying in his own video the following.
So I'm watching this new Illuminaughtii video, and honestly the whole thing's just a masterclass in manipulation, but I wanted to really quickly make a comment about the defense she had against H-Bomb. To back up, H-Bomb called out Illuminaughtii for plagiarizing Brian Deere's documentary in her video Debunking Anti-Vax. In the video, you can clearly see Illuminaughtii being caught red-handed taking Brian Deere's script and presenting it as her own. She acknowledges this in her new video, but here's her defense.
In his own video, he shows where I'm audibly quoting a direct line from the documentary, and even visually you can see it on the screen with the quotation marks.
That sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But let's hear that quote in context.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
See, what Illuminaughti's doing here is trying to present the part of her video where she plagiarized Brian Deere when he paraphrased the FDA's lawsuit, as though that's how she was crediting Brian Deere. But even the screenshot from her own video that's being shown here is proof that she wasn't crediting Brian Deere. Look at the top where it says the source of the quote is the lawsuit with FDA in 1989. If she were telling the truth, then that would actually read Brian Deere's documentary.
It's most certainly not plagiarism.
Yeah, it actually is. You can't just drop the source from a quote and be like, no, I did it. That's literally plagiarism. This is literally plagiarism. What are we even doing here?
With HBomberGuy seemingly agreeing, commenting in response to BobVids, why wasn't the rest of the stuff in quotation marks? Lol? And to be honest, it's just embarrassing. But I'm gonna end this video here. IIlluminaughtii's video goes on and discusses a lot of their other drama surrounding Sad Milk, a channel they used to have with other creators, some personal drama they had with creators outside of that, etc. But I feel it's easier to end this video here discussing this, and if you guys really want me to delve into those other subjects, make a separate video. I think the problem with IIlluminaughtii is made very clear with what's been said here, and I don't really feel a need to try and argue their points anymore. Nobody is on their side anyway. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, I'd appreciate the support. Feel free to check out my other social media in the links in the description down below, and for $1 a month you can donate on my Patreon and support me financially. That would mean a lot. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Always remember to credit your sources, and I'd suggest watching HBomberGuy's video about the Roblox oof and how the credit behind that has been a dumpster fire for years if you're more interested in that subject. And yeah, I'll see you next time, little gay people in my comment section.
Says she wanna rock with a nigga like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with a nigga like me. We can catch a fly. Says she wanna rock with a nigga like me.